This is the Bestway Power Steel oval metal frame above ground outdoor swimming pool set, and honestly, I've got a lot to say after experiencing it firsthand. The reason I picked this pool, and what really grabbed my attention, is the generous size and solid construction. With the oval shape stretching out 20 feet long, 12 feet across, and standing 4 feet tall, it's hard not to picture some pretty amazing summer afternoons here. It's not just the numbers on paper either. The pool genuinely feels massive. When you get close, you realize just how much room there is for swimming, playing, or just chilling out. Let's talk key features. One thing that helped me decide on this model was the material and build. The frame is made from steel and feels super sturdy. Bestway calls it a seal and lock system, which basically means the steel pipes connect with minimal fuss and everything locks tightly in place. I worried a bit at first about how tough it would be to put the frame together, and if it would actually stand up to hyper kids or, let's be honest, some rougher use. But so far, the frame has held up totally fine. The liner is something they call Tritech, which is just their way of saying it's a triple-layered PVC material, which means the pool wall is thicker and more reliable than you might expect. Even after several weeks of non-stop activity, no signs of sagging, and no leaks or punctures. I was also a little nervous about the actual setup. From my experience with above-ground pools, a few years back with a much smaller round one, the process usually ends up being pretty frustrating, especially if you've got someone helping who's not really following the directions. But with this pool, setup was honestly not that bad. It definitely takes some space, and I'd recommend clearing the area and making sure it's as level as you can get it before you start assembling anything. That will save a lot of hassle later on. You don't need a bunch of tools. Most of the frame pieces just snap together. The trickiest part, in my opinion, was getting the liner spread out evenly. I laid down some foam mats first to make the bottom softer and protect the liner a bit, and that worked out great. One thing that surprised me was how many accessories you get right in the box. The kit comes with the 1500 GPR filter pump, which is just the part that keeps the water clean by running it through a filter. It's not the biggest pump ever, but for the pool size, it's perfectly decent. The ladder included actually feels safe and sturdy, and for people not used to pools, the ladder's a must to get in and out easily, especially for kids. They also give you a pool cover, which sounds like a small thing, but it makes a big difference, keeping leaves and bugs out of the water when you're not using the pool. A lot of folks wonder about maintenance, especially if you're new to above-ground pools. It's honestly straightforward if you just stick to a routine. I toss in chlorine tabs every few days, check the filter to rinse it out, and skim the surface with a net whenever the cover's not on. The drain system is easy to use too. There's a simple flow control valve, so when the time comes to take it down, it's not a big ordeal. Bestway even designed it so you can connect a standard garden hose for draining. In terms of how it's worked for my family, I have to say it's perfect for anyone wanting a space where kids, friends, or just yourself can splash, swim, and hang out without heading over to a public pool. The depth is great. It's 4 feet deep, which is enough for swimming, but shallow enough that younger kids can enjoy it safely with supervision. My kids, ranging between 7 and 12, are in there nearly every day, even when the water's still a bit chilly in early summer. And for adults, there's enough space to swim short laps, float around, or even set up a couple of pool loungers inside. A lot of people, myself included, are pretty skeptical of above-ground pools holding up to all-season use or lasting more than a couple of years without serious problems. So far, I haven't had any serious worries. There were some minor hiccups, though, especially with the filter pump. That's honestly the one area where I felt like it could be improved. The pump does its job, but I've heard and read from other users, plus I had a little trouble myself, that sometimes it can get clogged or seem to slow down after a few weeks. Cleaning out the filter cartridge helps, but it's something to keep an eye on if you plan to use the pool constantly. An upgrade might be on my list next year if my kids keep swimming this much, weight, and moving. The pool is another thing to think about, especially for folks who might want to take it down in the off-season. This pool is not something you'll want to move around much once it's set up, since it weighs over 200 pounds, and just the sheer size means you'll need help if you ever want to reposition it or pack it away for storage. It took a couple of us working together to get the liner stretched and secured, so I'd recommend having a buddy on hand for both setup and takedown. Aesthetic appeal. Might sound like a small deal, but let's face it, nobody wants something that looks like a giant eyesore in the backyard. The gray wood pattern on the outside and the tile print on the inside do a nice job of making the pool look more finished and less like just a temporary pool. When I invite friends over, the comments are usually about how it almost looks like an in-ground pool from a distance. From my experience, this Bestway set is a solid step up compared to the smaller above-ground pools I've tried before. I'd recommend this for families who want a backyard swimming experience that won't break the bank or require a permanent construction project. It's also a fun solution for anyone wanting to cool off or have space for small parties or gatherings. Even setting it up as a single adult with a little help, I didn't run into major headaches, and the instructions were reasonable to follow. Beginners probably won't have too much trouble, but I'd say patience is key, and making sure the ground is level before you start is crucial. One thing I'd mention for total beginners or anyone on the fence is to seriously plan ahead for setup. You'll want to pick the flattest spot possible, make sure you have all the included parts before starting, and maybe watch a couple of setup videos if you're nervous. The time investment is definitely worth it once you see your family or friends jumping in and loving it. I was a little worried at first about keeping it clean and safe, but sticking to a basic routine really keeps things simple. In conclusion, the Bestway Power Steel oval metal frame above-ground outdoor swimming pool set brings a lot of great things to the table. It's durable, easy to assemble with some patience, and big enough to make everyone happy without feeling crowded. The only thing I'd improve is the filter pump and possibly the guide for setup to make things even simpler for beginners. But I genuinely think it's a solid investment if you want a pool at home without digging up your entire backyard. Simple upkeep, lots of fun, and pretty impressive quality for the price. If you found this quick review helpful or you've got questions about this pool, go ahead and leave a comment. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for more reviews and updates. Thank you for watching.